Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. I'm your host, Naveen Ganglani. We got a fun one today. In a little bit, I'm going to start by doing a little something I've been wanting to do in this podcast for a while. And then after that, we'll have Maui up of the Boleros joining us to discuss some of the latest happenings in college basketball. Because I know that many of you are college basketball enthusiasts and fans, and it's never too early to talk about it, especially with the off-season stuff getting started. I'm not sure if you guys checked it out, but LaSalle competed in the tournament in Zamboanga recently and didn't exactly do so well. Plus, they've had some recent developments in terms of player movement with veteran players departing. So that's something we'll touch on a little bit with Maui when he gets on the show. And then we'll also touch a little bit on some of the premier high school prospects to look out for as we enter the busy state of the college basketball calendar with the high school playoffs happening. The UAP Final Four is going to take place not long from now. The NCAA high school basketball tournament is already going on as well. So before we know it, I think we'll be hearing a lot more of where these guys might potentially be going, which schools might be after them, where might they be interested to commit for their collegiate careers. It's a never ending game, it's a never ending spectacle, and it's always exciting when we hear any hints of news or developments when it comes to our favorite leagues, the UAP, the NCAA, and I can't wait for more stuff to happen over the next few weeks because I think things are going to get busy. But first, I wanted to do something that I had planned on. I had actually written down on my planner a few days ago. Shout out to the NBA All Star Weekend, of course. Cool gift. I want to list down who I think are the 10 best players in college basketball today. And we're recording this podcast episode live in particular because I want it to be interactive. I'd like for our listeners who are tuning in right now to give their 2 cents on whether the list I came up with was right or they have any reservations or whatnot. And if you're listening or watching to this podcast episode on replay on Spotify, well, let me know after the episode, even if the recording's already taken place, about some reactions you might have. Do you agree with the list? Do you not agree with the list? I think it's one of the fun parts about being a sports fan, right? Kind of like comparing who we think is here, who we think is the best, who's the best of the best, who makes the top three, the top five, all that jazz. So here's my list as of March 3, 2025. Okay. And I am only including in this list guys who I think for certain will be playing college basketball this season. Let's see. Let's see now if this list stays the same by the end of the year. We'll find out. Okay, my number 10 is Jerry Abadiano of the UP Fighting Maroons. And by the way, this list includes UAP and NCAA. So Jerry Abadiano is my number 10. His statistics won't jump off the page. His statistics won't always be crazy. In fact, the 10th position for me was Jerry Abadian or Harold Alarcon. So shout out to Harold Alarcon, special mention. But I went with Jerry in part because of the clutch shooting, because of the ball handling abilities. He's also a pest on the defensive end. And what do I mean by that? You could put him on opposing ball handlers. You could put him on even wing players from time to time and find a way to limit them, maybe force them into a late in the shot clock, an ill-advised shot, and it starts a lot of the time with his pressure defense in the backcourt, slowing the offense of the other team, forcing them into miscues, creating turnovers, allowing UP to get out in the run. So Jerry Abadiano is my number 10. I think any coach in the college basketball scene would love to have him. What do you think? Number 10. Okay, number 9 to me, VJ Prep. Absolutely love his game. Insane to me that he was in MVP conversations in his rookie season. He has joined the list of elite rookies over the years we've seen in the UAAP in terms of locals. And I think that he is on his way to stardom. I know that he's been working hard on developing his body, taking it to the next level, his physical shape, so he can become the superstar that he has the skills to be. And I feel like we're gonna see an even better version of him on in UAP season 88. So I did some research just to compare VJ with other elite rookie of the year winners in UAP history. So we go back to Kiefer Ravenna, Ateneo, season 74, 2011. 13.4, 13.1 points per game, 4.2 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game, 1.5 steals a game. Rookie of the Year, was a UAP champion that season. Immediately was a go-to clutch ball handler. He was in the MVP race. He was a Mythical 5 member and was in the MVP race for a while that season. So I think Kiefer's rookie season absolutely underrated because he came in with Greg Slaughter, but he was absolutely phenomenal and helped Ateneo win the championship 14 years ago. Season 75, Jeron Tang of DLSU. 16.6 points a game, 6.9 rebounds a game, 2.6 assists a game. Rookie of the Year, I believe he was Mythical 5 as well. Led LaSalle back to the Final Four. I remember they almost upset Ateneo in that first game in the 1 versus 4 matchup. After LaSalle, I think, had won a playoff to get to the Final Four. They beat FEU, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, late in the game, Kiefer Avenas Heroics allowed Ateneo to win that. But Jeron Tang, awesome rookie season. And we know what he would go on to do the next year, lead LaSalle to the championship and another one again in 2016. Carl Tamayo, 13.1 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 1.4 assists in season 84 with the UP Fighting Maroons. Rookie of the Year, Mythical 5, UAAP champion. Absolutely great. Probably in terms of having incredible impact as a rookie for his team, this might be the greatest rookie season ever we've seen from a local in the UAAP. I think so because also the way he played in that finals, helping UP beat that incredible Ateneo dynasty, and he was the one guy Ateneo's defense had the hardest time containing, if I recall correctly from that series. So I think Carl Tamayo, greatest UAP rookie season ever. Okay, yes, Kevin Kimball, season 85 UAAP Rookie of the Year, 11.2 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1.1 steals a game. Rookie of the Year also missed the last few games for that season because he had COVID and was unable to lead LaSalle to the Final Four. But the next year, season 86, would go on to win UAP MVP, would do the same in season 87, led LaSalle to a championship in season 86. So why do I mention all these guys? And I know I'm kind of expounding on VJ Pre here a little bit. VJ Press averages with FEU in season 87, 13.3 points, 7 rebounds, 1.4 assists a game. Rookie of the Year. Did not make it to the Final Four, but FEU made a late push to try and get there. So he's in line with these other UAP greats in their rookie seasons. And I think that it's safe to say he might be on pace to follow the same trajectory when it comes to the rest of his career. So that's my number 9, VJ Pre. Number 8 to me, Nick Cabanero of the UST Growling Tigers, one of the best scorers in college basketball today. Nick with UST in season 87, 30, let me get this right. Sorry, 16.3 points a game, 5.4 rebounds a game, 2 assists a game, and 1 steal a contest. Led the league in total field goals made with almost 6 field goals a game. He actually shot 51% inside 3-point range, so meaning the 2-point area, which is incredibly efficient and was very important. When UST really started featuring Nick more later in the season, that's when you saw them kind of go on a run and make it to the Final Four. With Nick, of course, the question is, can he develop the 3-point game? Can he be more of a playmaker, creating for other teammates? Can he be the lead guy on the finals team? We'll find out in season 88. I think UST, if things click right, could be a finals contender. Precious Momoway is my number 7 with the UE Red Warriors, arguably the best FSA in college basketball today. I know that I had said Motong Kara a few times, but given the uncertain situation right now at Motong Kara and what's happening at UST, I'm going to put Precious there. And I think he's skilled, and his tutelage with Chris Gavina coming up is going to take his game to a whole nother level. Remember, he wants to get to the Euro League, and Coach Chris Gavina wants to get him there. Okay, that was number 7. Number 6, Francis Lopez. I know there are criticisms. I know that people still doubt his jump shot or his ability to take care of the ball because of all the turnovers, particularly in the finals. But you can't deny this guy's an all-around talent. In a 3-game final series against DLSU, and UP won the title, 13.6 points, 8.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.3 steals, 3 blocks. A contest. Absolutely athletic, can give you multiple possessions with his hustle plays, He can make mistakes in offense, yes, but he can also be an incredibly useful weapon, especially in transition. He can attack. And right now, Francis is actually training in Los Angeles and looking to get his game better. So, will we see an even improved version of Francis Lopez come season 88? I think that might be possible. Number five to me, Jacob Cortez. I feel like people have kind of forgotten how good this guy was with Sanbeda in season 99. I'm sure people also have their questions about how good he can really be because in the NCAA you don't have FSAs, right? But I feel that Jacob Cortez is gonna fit in the UAP quite well. Just looking back at Jacob's averages in season 99, let me find that real quick. But he put up some good numbers. Here we go, averaging 15.4 points, 3.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.2 steals a contest. He was particularly really good in the playoffs. He had this ability to take his game up a level in big moments, and that's going to be tested in the UAAP. But I'm excited to see how Jacob will kind of fit himself in there as a Green Archer. We'll see. I'm not sure he'll be as dominant as he was in NCAA, at least not right away. But he'll also be playing with more talented teammates, so that could open up the floor for him to have even more impact. Maybe not necessarily in the stat sheet, but just in terms of controlling the game and pace and all that jazz. Okay, let's see what's next here. Jacob Cortez was number five. Number four to me, Ray Remogat, another guy I think people have kind of forgotten how good he was. Remember, this guy was number two in the MVP race in UAP season 86. He put up some gaudy numbers, and he was doing it really as the lead ball handler and playmaker for UE over 14 games, 16 and a half points a game, 7.9 assists a contest, 6.4 rebounds, 2 steals a game, shot 88% from the free throw line. He just lost to Kevin Kimbao that season in the MVP race, but he was absolutely amazing, and he's even better now. He'll be playing with better teammates at UP that will allow him to be more of a floor general and show more of what his game is capable of. Gonna be an MVP candidate again this UAP season, in my opinion, and I think he's tied there with Jacob for the second best guard in college basketball. My top guard, I'll reveal in a little bit. Number three to me, Alan Liwag of the CSB Blazers, the best aside from Mike Phillips, the best collegiate local right now in the country. Remember, he won MVP and DPOY in NCAA season 100 after leading CSB to the second seed in the league standings. 14.6 points, 11.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 1.2 blocks a contest in season 100 with the Blazers. Great touch in the paint, around the rim, can finish, good footwork, solid defensively, versatile as a big, can play in, can handle the ball outside, can start actions outside, can dribble a little bit. He is going to be an absolutely outstanding pro one day, and he's coming back for one more season with CSB in season 101. I think a championship would be the icing on the cake for Alan Liwag's career. Number two to me, Michael Phillips of the DLSU Green Archers. Doesn't really need a lot of explanation. His offensive game has grown exponentially. He has that push shot now. He has that spin move in the paint. He has better touch around the rim. He knows how to use the glass more. He'll hit a three pointer in the mid range once in a while. He'll be a hub on offense for handoffs to guards. You'll probably notice he has the ball a lot outside the 3 point line. Wait for the guards to come get the ball, and he'll screen, he'll roll, he'll pop out, he'll stop on the short roll, find shooters in the corner. His game is more complete than people give him credit for. Of course, there's still areas to grow and get better at. And defensively, he is as much of a Swiss Army knife as you can find in college basketball. He can switch, he can trap, he can hedge up to touch, he can zone. He can also be your hub in the zone defense, playing down or playing. I mean, sometimes playing up too, and he rebounds. His energy is never ending. He will get you multiple possessions in the game because of his hustle alone. He will always be the hardest worker on the court, and aside from that, just an absolutely outstanding guy off the court. And I think that deserves some plus points too because the guy is. I I mean, I'm sure a lot of basketball fans aren't happy with some of his antics on the court, but off the court, everyone who's conversed with him and knows him, I haven't really heard anyone say like a bad thing about him. And I think that matters too. And number one to me is Clint Escamis. just an absolute beast. Him winning the championship with Mapua the way he did, that dominant 30-point game one performance. He can score, he can push the pace, he can hit jump shots, he can drive to the rim, he can hit threes, he can hit step backs. He's clutch. He'll get you steals, he'll get you transition opportunities, he'll find open teammates. He has an energy about him that's so competitive, that's so strong that it just rallies the team around him. Lead ball handler, can make something out of nothing when you need him to complete game, competes defensively. Once in a while, yes, he'll take a bad shot or two, but you know what? No player is 100% perfect. And in terms of just being an all around impact player who can changed the game in so many ways. I think Clint Escames is number one. Okay, so that was my list. That was my top 10 list. I know some people are wondering if Clint could do the same thing in the UAP. My answer would be yes. I think he would because the way he plays the game, the way he impacts on the court, his energy, his hustle, he could do what a lot of these UAP guys are doing and do it as well as he's doing it in the NCAA. So just another note on Clint for that. So yeah, that was my top 10. Thanks everyone for listening. In a little bit, we'll have Maui Yap of the Boleros join us and we'll be discussing more college basketball. We're taking a quick break. Do not go anywhere. Okay, Maui Up of the Boleros podcast now join us. Maui, of course, is a very popular guest of the show and his own podcast with Gab and Sam the Boleros. One of the best podcasts out there for UAP basketball and basketball in the Philippines. It's a Monday. We haven't had him since, I believe, a few days after season 87 ended. And now here he is. Maui, during these kind of quiet moments in the UAP or college basketball calendar, how do you like getting your dose and your taste of college basketball?
Yeah, actually, right now, you're right. It's very quiet. It's not like the previous off seasons. I think the last two off seasons were bangers. This off season hasn't been the same. Honestly, basketball wise, I'm thankful na may Pinoy Liga next month cup. I've started watching that. I watched the Salle versus Ateneo game yesterday. But mostly basketball, I watch the NBA. That's where I get my daily dose of basketball right now. Still waiting on news on the UAAP. I'm excited for the preseason tournaments and maybe some more news. We want news. It's lacking previous off seasons.
I know it's. We also have to remember the change in the UAP residency rule has really affected the transfer and the usual happenings that we see right away after the season end. Because now, if you're a first year player and you weren't happy with your rookie season, and a lot of rookies usually aren't happy because they don't get a lot of playing time right away. If you transfer, you have to realize, oh wait, that means I have 2 seasons left. And the next school I go to has to be the actual school. Nah, that's my last choice. So you're seeing a lot of people be more hesitant for UAP to UAP, but I think that also opens the door for UAP to NCAA or NCAA to UAP, and more NCAA guys just deciding to shift to another NCAA school instead. Like for example, with JRU having all this funding now from the Abra group, they become a hotspot. Or you think of, Aldous Turkulis deciding to move to the NCAA from the UAP for his basketball future because he knows he can't do the UAP anymore as a third year player. And I think you're going to see more of those aspects happen. But you're right, it has been a while. It's not the usual pasabog moments that there are early in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
year, although I don't think that's going to be the case for a while. But what has intrigued you in terms of team movement and roster changes and all the usual stuff? Is there anything in particular you've been following?
Uh, Actually, initially it was UP because Turkulas transferred to the NCAA, but it's been LaSalle mostly this off season, and UE. A lot of news about UE, but mostly I think LaSalle has been affected the most, di ba? With the exit of Kevin Kiambao, and now certain players decide not to burn their playing years in the UAAP. It's looking like also the MPBL is another option for these guys.
Mm,
There has been a lot of fund. I think yung funding ng MPBL is different than previous years. Diba you see pro players like Greg Slaughter also try out in the MBBL. A lot of LaSalle players now play for the same team. I think you mentioned that the team is also sponsoring
Aberrant.
JRU.
Mm-mm.
Diba? So, I mean, it's different than the previous thing that we had in college basketball where players tend to finish out the 5 years. The landscape has certainly changed also with the new residency rule, but I'm happy for the players, diba? The earlier they can earn money really is a blessing for these players. First and foremost, their initial careers will have to be basketball. They can always go back to college. They can always look back and check if they can finish college. Similar to how Kevin Tiambao is doing right now with LaSalle. I think he's looking at his options, trying to find ways to still complete his degree, diba? But at the end of the day, these players, this is what they've worked for their whole career, diba? This is why they transfer teams. This is why they transfer from the province to Manila. So yeah, still happy for guys like Raven Cortez and Austria who finally get to, well, they get compensation in the UAAP, but it's still different when you turn pro, diba? You start a different chapter of your career.
Yeah, yeah, and we have to remember too, someone like CJ Austria, he's expecting a kid soon. So something like the Janelle Policarpio situation where he decided to go pro 1 year too early because he needed to start providing for his family and the steady income of being a pro, the monthly salary. Yes, college players get certain allowances, certain bonuses, but it's still not the same as a steady income that comes in every month as a paid player. I know a lot of people think that's the case now for college basketball. You get in, you get a monthly salary, it's this crazy amount. That's not exactly the case. It's not always that cut and dry. The MPBL is proving to be competition to the PBA. I think we can start saying that, considering one, they're offering salaries higher than the PBA. Look no further than Encho Serrano and then Dave
Yeah.
Ildefonso. And like you said, Greg Slaughter. So that's a development that we need to watch out for. And also the UAP. I mean, a lot of the UAP guys, they had their options. Go to the PBA or go to Korea or Japan. If you're good enough, now you can go to the MPBL. Even, like, let's say you're a mid to like low, like B to like an A minus level college player. Because we know that the top teams from Asia are gonna go for the A plus guys or the A guys. But if you're like a B midish kind of player and you're ready to go pro, you could always go to the MPBL with all the teams and all the sponsors and all the backing that's starting to come in there. So that's a development to definitely watch out for in the years to come. You mentioned CJ Austria and Raven Gonzalez joining Abra. Josh David, their teammate from LaSalle, will also be there with them, as well as David Alfonso. But with Raven and CJ, it's interesting because they had years at LaSalle left. CJ is
Yeah,
gonna enter, I believe he's fifth year, fifth and final playing year. And then Raven was gonna enter his fourth playing year. So now suddenly you're looking at LaSalle's roster. Okay, you lost Josh David, you lost Kevin Kebao, you lost Raven Gonzalez, you lost CJ Austria. Those are four of your veteran guys. Those are four guys who are in their fourth or fifth seasons. Well, Josh David had played out his final season, but the other three had like seasons left. Obviously, with KQ, we knew he was going to go pro because of how good he was. But the Raven and CJ moves are definitely surprising. I think this, at least right now, this does not help LaSalle because look, we do know about all the
definitely.
talented players that they have coming in. You know, Kian, Jacob, Mason, Luis, but these guys aren't like vets. I know Jacob and Kian kind of are, but they've also like taken a year off doing residency. And in Jacob's case, he came from the NCAA, and there's still a transition going to the UAAP. And Mason had only played one UAP season so far. And Luis also had only played one UAP season so far, where for a lot of that first stint with UP, he was on the bench. And now Michael is the fifth year veteran guy, and LaSalle should think they're lucky stars. He decided to come back for one last season. But I think it's going to be a challenge for them. Who is going to bring that veteran leadership? Is it going to be Abadam, Goliena? They're also still relatively early in their careers. And for LaSalle, you're looking at the competition being UP because that's a team you faced 2 straight years in the finals. When you look at UP's roster, Alarcon, Fortea, Badiano, Torres, Felicilda, all veteran guys. Guys
Intact.
who intact. Yeah, exactly. Lopez is also going to be entering his third season. That's a team that's going to have continuity. That's a team that's going to have veteran presence. That's a team that's going to have good coaching. These recent moves for LaSalle, yes, they did not lose like star quality A plus players, but they're losing very, very important complementary players.
Yeah, it's a very big blow for LaSalle, but I still think they have the talent, di ba? I mean, you mentioned the list. They've been playing together for the past year. I think that's helpful, but you're seeing that the championship team sa LaSalle. I think si Mike Phillips na lang ang key guy na naiwan, but Jacob Cortez will still be bringing his championship experience, the talent of Baclaan, Cortez, and Amos, and Pablo are keys. I think for maybe Konov and Pablo are smiling when Gonzalez announced that he was leaving early. This basically guarantees them minutes for next season. I don't know how Sarmiento or the other bigs or if LaSalle will stick with their current FSA, but this sort of gives them the chance to shine for next season. Now it makes sense why LaSalle decided to go for Pablo, decided to go for Konov, decided to go for Amos. It's because of this, diba? The changing of the landscape in the UAAP. You can't expect players to complete the 5 years. It used to be all players completing 5 years. Then you mentioned eight-year players deciding to go pro early. Now it's not just eight-year players deciding to go pro early, diba? You see players like Austria, you see players like Gonzalez and a ton of other players from other teams decide to go pro early. And I think that's the changing landscape of the UAAP, diba? I mean, we can say that the league is turning commercial with all of these allowances and signing bonuses, but at the end of the day, it's still an amateur league. Diba? It's still different when you go pro. It's still different when you suit
Yeah.
up for a team and sign a contract.
It's
That
different when you're not going to classes.
It's different when you're not going to classes. You can focus solely on basketball, diba? And you mentioned some of these guys have children already, diba? Like Policarpio and even si Austria is expecting. You have to maybe those are the players that these MPBL teams can look at also, diba? I think Lasala has a ton of players who have even si Goliena, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
had already as a
Galiana.
kid. But at the end of the day, it's for me it's more exciting, diba? It's when you get that element of surprise every off season, that element of surprise coming to the season, it's more exciting, diba? Kasi before, when you were able to build a dynasty like the early iteration of Coach Tab, or you can go back to Norman Blacks 5-peat Ateneo team or even Franz Pumaren's 4-peat LaSalle team, you get that same core for that 5 years. That's why you get
Yep.
teams getting multiple consecutive championships. And if you look at the UAAP, I think you in your podcast and us on our podcast have mentioned this numerous times. We've been getting new champions, di ba, the past few seasons. So it's I mean, LaSalle and UP have been top tier teams, but there's that element of surprise. That there's that element of not knowing that one team can dominate for years to come.
Correct. The continuity aspect of having that core together for years is just so special because it comes down to simple natural basketball, right? When you've been playing with someone na sobrang tagal mo nang kasama, lagi mo kakampi, lagi mong kasama sa court. Pag lumalabas kayo ng court, kakain kayo, magkasama din kayo. There's that natural chemistry that you just can't buy with money. That's the thing you can't buy with money. Natural chemistry on the court. You know, if you're gonna drive in and you've got three defenders suddenly on you, collapsing on you, pag matagal mo nang kasama yung teammate mo, alam mo saan yung
Alam
pwesto
mo na
niya.
kung nasaan. Correct.
Exactly. You know where to pass the ball, you know where to throw the ball, you know where to get the ball to. When you miss out on your defensive assignment, alam mo yung kasama mo has got your back eh. He can
Yeah.
take that assignment as you're recovering on help defense. And that's something that UP has. And what UP has right now is so rare. Because not only are these Bullpups players that have been together for their college careers, yes, Torres and Felicilla had at N Houston for 1 year, but they have also been together since high school. Since high school, right? So the continuity is going to be something LaSalle will have to work on, particularly in the off season. Now, we also have to note here that Henry Agunan is still recovering from a knee injury. I know a lot of people were disappointed with Henry last UAP season, and we've been critical of Henry in this podcast too. But upon learning more, he was dealing with an injury he suffered in Phil Oil 2024, as in last season, but before season 87. And that knee injury was limiting him throughout the UAAP. He had to do PRP, he had to do rehab in between game days, and he had to do it knowing that it was going to be 50-50. There were days it was going to work, and there were days he was in a lot of pain. So now he's finally getting to rest that knee injury, and the goal is for him to come back in April. But then Phil Oil starts in May. So suddenly you're rushing that natural chemistry I talked about if Henry is going to be your FSA. We also saw an early preview in this pocket tournament where LaSalle competed with the Zamboanga Valentines and CSB and some other squads. I believe it was in Zamboanga. They did not exactly look, it not everything looked natural. Yes, they were in some close games. Yes, they did not have Mason Amos, but there were still some signs there that you could look at and you're like, ooh, that's a work in progress. Where do you have LaSalle right now in your UAP tier for season 88? Do you think they're still up to par there with UP, or would you say LaSalle is maybe a level below UP at this point?
I would say at this point they're probably below UP just because of that chemistry continuity factor, di ba? Despite Amos, Pablo, Cortez, and Baclaan playing in a lot of tournaments together, you still have to see them with Mike Phillips. How they mesh with Mike Phillips. I think Mike Phillips is probably the MVP favorite coming into next season. They will have to be able to work with Mike Phillips. I don't know how with 2 point guards, two ball dominant point guards coming in. I don't know if Coach Topex will still use Mike Phillips as a playmaker at the top of the key. Maybe he'll have to readjust how he plays, be a role man, be an energy guy. We'll see more in the coming tournaments. But I would say, yeah, probably a tier below UP right now. But you can see the potential naman eh. You can see that they have the talent. I think they top to bottom they still have that talent to be able to be favorites also for next season. You mentioned si Agunan eh, dealing with a knee injury. That could be also another ceiling raiser for LaSalle, diba? If they could do better next season. QMB is a big thing also for UP, diba? That you can make a big argument that Malik Diouf and QMB had a similar impact to UP,
Mm.
diba? You can even argue that QMB might have had a bigger impact last season
I
than
think QMB
Malik
was
Diouf.
a better offensive player than Malik.
Yeah, so that's also something to follow for UP? Will they be recruiting another big man, or will they be relying with their a boatload of big men? But those big men were able to compete naman nung off season. So I don't think that they will have problems. Gani Stevens is capable. All of them are capable, basically, as you saw before QMB arrived from the
Mm.
previous off season, di ba? But it's a big thing yung continuity. It's one of the reasons why I think Ateneo was also dominant during the early parts of Coach Tab's coaching career in the UAAP. You're right. You can't buy chemistry, di ba? It takes time. It takes time to develop. You have to go through ups and downs. It's one of the reasons why I think si Coach Tim Cone is also reluctant to increase the pool sa Gilas, di
Yes.
ba?
Yes.
Despite everyone clamoring for him to increase the pool because of injuries and scouting. That's something that's hard to teach, chemistry in a team, di ba? You really have to see them go through those ups and downs and how they are able to bounce back from those downs. I think that's one of the most important things. But when you talk about Lasal, Coach Topex is still there, the culture is still there, the training staff is still there, the talent is still there. It's not like Ateneo where there was a gutter in talent, diba? You really saw Ateneo struggle to bring in enough talent and have a lot of holes in multiple positions. When you talk about Lasal, yes, you're losing a lot of talent. You're losing arguably one of the best college players in our generation, Kevin Kiambao, but you're getting three MVP candidates, basically, I would say. If Amos was in Ateneo last season, I would think that he would probably be in the top 10 in MVP. Kian Baclaan should be part of MVP talks when he was in NU, and Cortez is, I think, a runner-up MVP in the NCAA and was the most important player for San Beda, arguably.
So someone told me recently after Raven decided to go to Abra and leave his DLSU career behind. I was like, they're not gonna miss Raven so much, right? Because they've got Pablo, and more importantly, they got Amos. Amos will have um, Amos. I'm thinking of cookies. I think. Sorry about that. Mason Amos. That means he's going to have more playing time. And this source of mine, a league source, to be fair, in the NCAA, not the UAP, told me you don't understand it, but people are gonna see it this season that losing Raven is huge because he's better than Mason. And I'm like, really, Raven better than Mason? And the source told me, yes, Mason can shoot 3 pointers, but what else can he do? And then he was like, look at what Raven does. Raven finds a way to get the ball to his teammates, can score floaters, can play off the ball, rebounds, defends, scores inside the paint as well. And I'm like, okay, we'll see because we've only seen 1 year of Mason where, for him, he was playing out of positions. Now he's playing his natural position, more of a four. He can sometimes slide down to a three at DLSU. So we'll see. But I think the Raven departure is really going to be a huge loss for DLSU because he was that other veteran big man that they had who could relieve Mike of some minutes. Now you're relying extra on your FSA, which is Agunane, or it might be Nuanco. And now you're relying on Pablo and Mason, and also Dominic Sarmiento, we should mention, the 6'10 guy of DLSU, but he's also still a project. He's not exactly a finished product yet. But now you're relying more on Mason and Luis to kind of play bigger than their size or what they were supposed to. Because now you have to relieve those Phillips minutes to some degree when he's not on the court, right? What I have heard though was that in practice and in tune-up games, the Mason Phillips 4-5 combo when they're together is absolutely lethal. Now, they're not playing like UP or UST or FEU just yet, or even NU, but it's working because you can go high-low with Mason and Mike, right? If Mason is up there in the s- in the nail or even at the 3 point line, you have to go out and guard that because if you're leaving him wide open, that's a jump shot. And if sometimes the defense lags behind and Mike's help underneath comes to Mason, that leaves Mike for high low action where you can get Mike easy lobs, easy layups. And if you double team Mason or you send someone else from the perimeter, now you got the floor spread with Kian, with Jacob, with Earl. who's a good shooter, with EJ, who's become a good shooter, maybe Voris, we'll see. So there's potential there, but I think LaSalle will need. I don't think they're gonna be like a team that comes out of the gates like 8-1 or 9-2 to start the season, or they won't be the team that will sweep the first round. If they become like a championship level team the UAP season, again it's March, so much can happen and so early to predict all of this. But if they become a championship caliber team, I think they'll be like a late bloomer kind of a championship contender in season 88, because I think it's going to take some time. I will ask you this though, Maui. If not DLSU, because I right now based on our conversation, it seems like you and I are in the same wavelength that UP is the coming in as the favorite, right? So if we have UP in the finals, and I'm assuming it's LaSalle because I still think those are the two best teams. But if someone else takes LaSalle's spot, who's your best or favorite choice to take that spot from DLSU?
I would say it has to be UST or NU at this point, 'di ba? You saw NU last year without an FSA. For next season, well, fingers crossed that maybe they have a healthy FSA. I don't know if it's gonna be Colin Sakowe or comebacking Omar Jan or Diosana, but it's a big thing. On our podcast, you always say that the UAAP is decided by two major positions. It's usually that big man center slot, FSA, and that point guard slot. And I think it's very gonna be very crucial for NU to get that FSA healthy for next season. But if you talk about another team, it has to be UST. Although you mentioned that maybe there are rumblings about Motong Kara for next season. Let's see. They still have their veterans coming in. I think si Padrigao is still coming back. Caballero is gonna play his final year, I think, for next season. So he'll look to make his mark in the UAAP. But it's a very long off season, as you mentioned, diba? A lot of players we can mention here, they can surprise us. Maybe they decide to turn pro, they decide to declare for the PBA draft, maybe they decide to play in the MPBL, play for FGA, or try out in Japan or Korea. So but with what's happening right now, I would say UP's the without a doubt the number one team, and then you could argue who could be that number two team, diba? It's ano eh, I think last season was a very good season when it comes to mid-tier teams. Diba? It was very exciting, that Final Four race. You can argue that Ateneo was at the last spot, but they still had a chance to make the Final
Yes.
Four. You could argue the same for NU, despite not having an FSA for last season. So it's a bit unpredictable. We'll probably know a lot more. Again, anything can happen. Diba? You saw what happened to UE last season. Diba? We thought that they could sneak in and get that number two slot, not knowing that their second round would be that disastrous.
Sneak in. Maui, they had like 90% of their body in the door in terms of making the final four. It was like they opened the door. They're like, okay, here we come. Ah, you know what? Never mind. They like got eliminated.
I think they had six or
Ridiculous.
seven chances, diba, to clinch that spot, and they couldn't do it.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But they are in good hands under Gavina. Gavina is using the Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley heat culture um, model there for UE. And I think it's encouraging for UE fans that Precious Momoway has been posting pictures on his IG of being in the practices of Gavina, wearing the UE uniform. And remember, on this podcast, Gavina said one of his rules in practices is that the players will always have to come in UE uniform. And don't sleep on UE. Gavina's a good coach. They have some veteran players there. Cole Cruz Dumont is really good. Nico Muling Tapang is going to be better. I'm not saying they're a sure Final Four team, but I don't think they're going to be a
Mahirap
stellar
na ata
team.
sabihin yun, I think, after what
After
happened last season.
but you know what? 16 years, Maui. 16
Yeah.
years. Like 2009 was the last time they made the Final Four. That was my freshman year in college. There are literally people enrolling in UE right now who maybe were not yet born or were just 1 year old the last time UE made the Final Four. Isn't that crazy? To me, that's sorry to curse, that's effing crazy.
It is, it
And
is.
it's insane. And you can see it from the comments of their fans online when you see them at the games in the arenas. They want to make the Final Four so badly. At this point, kahit matalo sila sa Final Four, okay lang basta makapasok eh.
Yeah, tsaka actually, I entered college the same time as you, 2009. So even though it's been what, 16 years since they
16
made it,
years.
16 years since they made the Final Four, I still think that UE is a contender because during our time, di ba, we used to watch sila James Yap, we used to watch sila Paul Lee. UE used to be a powerhouse in UAAP basketball, di ba? They used to produce a lot of pro players, even si Calaneta. I remember some not very popular names like Booker from before, but I'm hoping that this could be their season to finally make it to the Final Four. Kasi what they went through last season was, I've been saying this since last season. I haven't seen this type of fall in any
Collapse.
UAAP team, in any UAAP season since I've been watching the UAAP, and that's been a very long time already.
I know, it's ridiculous. Okay, before we get to the next topic, quick words on your Ateneo Blue Eagles. What do you think of the off-season? What are your realistic expectations for 88?
Well, actually, I've been talking to my dad about this. My dad's diehard Atenean, but he graduated from UP. So, but I'm actually, I don't expect much from this Ateneo team right now. It's been radio silent. I don't know when it comes to you. Maybe you get more news. But with me, in previous off season, I usually get some whispers. And right now, it's been radio silent with Ateneo. I don't know if they have coming recruits. I don't know if they're hiding. I don't know what will happen. We haven't really seen yung Team A guys as much as we want to. Maybe the next Pinoy Liga Cup, we can see sila Jared Bahay and sila Tuano finally suit up. I don't know if the FSA we saw in that first game against Salle is going to be the FSA for next season. So still a lot of uncertainty. So with that, I would say I'm not expecting a lot. Hopefully they could make it to the Final Four. 'Di ba? Kasi kahit papaano they're gonna be more intact than other teams from last season. It's gonna be Jared by second season. Toanos expected to step up. Losing Kun is probably a big thing. Maybe 50-50 losing SQ for some fans. Some fans want Ateneo not to play SQ anymore. Some fans love having SQ, but it's a new chapter basically for Ateneo. Diba? I think si Chris Kun and SQ were the last remaining pieces from the
Mhm.
championship teams. So let's see how Coach Tab handles this new crop of guys coming into next season. I guess right now you could say that the only scary team is UP. Because with
Mhm.
Dasal, there's still a lot of uncertainty if things can work out, if the chemistry can work out. But that's where the excitement comes from, di ba? Not knowing what will happen for next season. Maybe we see a team have a similar first round like UE and falter in the second round. I don't know. Or maybe we see another team struggle in the first round and surprise us and squeak past to the final four in the second round. But one thing's for sure, I really miss the UAP. I can't wait for the Pinoy Liga Cup and the upcoming Phil Oil. We need more UAP games. We need to see the A team guys play.
I miss the UAP too. What I don't miss are some of the toxic online fans who alam mo na. And most fans are actually really nice and knowledgeable. They're just some like idiotic eggheads who don't put their real names and pictures and they get really annoying. But that's beside the point. So, are you still a stockholder in the Balogun Believers Club?
I was never I was never
I know
sadly
this question.
I was never a believer of the Balogun Believers Club. I was actually very pessimistic coming to the season with regards to Balogun during the off season just because of some of the rumblings I was able to hear from some of the coaching staff and even yung academics niya. I think there was a danger of him not being able to play.
Wow.
I don't know if it was a mystery yung back injury niya during the off season, but if Ateneo brings in Balogun, I don't think they make it to the final four. Sorry to say for next season.
Damn.
I know Balogun has his heart into it. I
Mm-mm.
saw him during one of the games, I think against Salle. He was crying when Ateneo lost that game. But I don't know if Balogun is the right FSA. I think Ateneo has to move on from that experiment. He wasn't supposed to be the real FSA for Ateneo for last season. He was a last minute band-aid solution that didn't really pan out. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ateneo has a lineup of FSAs for next season, di ba? They have to have multiple options after what happened last off-season with God's love. Di ba? Kasi if you get an FSA too good, then there's chances are he won't stay long or chances are he could get recruited. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ateneo has probably 2 or 3 FSAs lined up right now, probably in Team B or training with them during the off season. They cannot have an FSA come in late like Balogun last season. It's ano eh. I would, as I mentioned also in this episode, it's very important to have your FSA, a decent FSA or decent big man. It's not
Mm-mm.
every day you get a Mike Phillips. It's not every day you get a QMB. I think fans have to realize that. I think fans will realize that when Mike Phillips decides to hang up his sneakers in the UAAP. It's still FSAs who dominate that 5 slot. Diba? I
Yep.
mean, all
Yep.
teams start FSAs at the 5. You can name only a few who don't.
Yeah, it's so surreal that Mike and QMB have basically like allowed their teams to not need like FSAs just because they play at a higher than any other FSA. Actually, they're better than the FSAs were last UAP season, and they're just unique talents. We're gonna miss QMB. Of course, QMB had the NCAA background as well before coming to the UAP, but he was phenomenal in his lone season with UP. He was called generational talent a lot of times last season by people in UP, and they made a lot of sense by saying that. And I think he was the best player for UP in the finals, and he was the main reason they won
Agree.
that series against DLSU. And Mike Phillips, the development first year onwards, 2022 until now, just in 3 years, absolutely incredible. So you think, what could this guy do? And he came in as 18 years old in college. He's only going to be turning 21, 22, somewhere there soon. So imagine this guy at 27, 28 years old, hopefully wearing Gilas Pilipinas jersey, where both he and QMB will be doing the same. Those are the future big men of this country, and I can't wait to see them together on the court. And quick note on Gilas, by the way, guys, you can blame the head coach, you can blame the pool as much as you all want. The truth of the matter is, until the Philippine basketball program stops putting together teams like their NBA talents, it's never going to work. If
It's a
other
systematic
it's
eh, no? Talaga. I
Yes,
agree, bro.
yes. The only, I mean, I'm not sure if it's the only, but the most prominent country to use this strategy where you just get the best talent and put them together, make them train for like 2, 3 weeks ahead of time is the USA, and that's because they're the USA. That's because they have NBA players. That's because they have Steph, Kevin Durant, LeBron, all these guys. And by the way, even with that strategy, even with all those players, they still almost nearly lost to Serbia in the Olympics. They were challenged by France. They lost in the World Cup to Canada in the bronze game in 2023. And we can succeed that way by using the same strategy, letting guys come together and train like 8 days before a tournament, when other countries have like training scheduled yearly, seasonally, annually, and these kids are training for the national team by the from the time they're teenagers. Like, if you guys watch a Court of Gold documentary on Netflix, the French national team train their players from their teenage years so that eventually they get used to playing with each other. Continuity is key to winning basketball games. Speaking of continuity, one thing I did not like that the UAAP did recently was basically deciding FSAs are too good, we're going to give them a separate award and just give the MVP award to the locals. I was not a fan of that. I was not. If you're going to have an MVP award, s- the most simple explanation I can give is that if you're gonna have an MVP award, it has to be the best player in the entire league. And if
Correct.
FSAs are part of your league, isama nyo yan. Why are you isolating them? They're also players. They're also student athletes. And guess what? Kevin Kimbao was a local. He won last year, even in a league full of FSAs. I mean, when Kiefer won his MVP awards in 2014, 2015, sure, the FSAs weren't as prominent as now, but there were FSAs and he was still winning the award. I mean, in 2015, the winner was Kiefer, yeah, and Kevin Ferrer was the runner up. He was a local. Like, why are we doing? I mean, just personally for me, I'm not a fan of it. I guess the league has its reasons. I just think that the MVP deserves to include everyone, and you're compiling everyone in the league, and the separation of the locals and the FSAs. It's not progressive for me. I think one of the reasons why they did that too was the dominance of Colin Sakoa in the high school ranks. And we're about to talk about high school standouts to look forward to. Obviously, you got LeBron James Daep, you got Makmak Alfanta, Kiefer Alas, who's technically not graduating yet. The Kuaho kid from AYAC, the AYAC high school program in the NCAA is really balling, and he's a graduating player. UST's FSA in the high school ranks is really good. Daha of Zobel is someone to look out for. And there are just so many talents out there to look out for. Guys are getting better. High school kids, in my opinion, are better than they've ever been because they get all these advanced training programs from an early age. And you still got some of the still foreign recruits will be coming. I mean, there are some guys to really watch out for, like your Ian Lowe, for example, in the United States. Obviously, Andy Kamau is another name to watch out for if he does proceed to playing for UP this season. Alex Grospe in the East Coast in the United States. Mikey Cortez, Jacob Cortez's younger brother, is someone to look out for as well. There are so many different talented young prospects who have the ability to make instant impact even in the collegiate league. Another guy to watch out for, Medina from Adamson, Tumaneng from Adamson. Let's see where they go, right? Froilan Maglasang from Ateneo Sacred Heart Cebu. Ironically, not recruited by the Blue Eagles, even if his teammates were. But he's looking for a collegiate home still. Let's see any other names I missed here. Um, of course, Manalili's debut was kind of derailed by injury, but technically he's a rookie, not a true freshman, but a rookie coming in the NCAA. So there are just so many different young prospects who are catching our attention with highlights, with social media posts, with their performances, with how they're able to do things advanced compared to college players today. Back when they were high school, they weren't able to do yet, and that's because of the learning, the tutelage, and the constant growth and innovation and technology. I can't wait for the future of Philippine basketball just because we have so many guys to watch out for. Who are some of the people that you have enjoyed watching, Maui?
Uh, Actually, from your list, I don't know a lot of players from your list. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch a lot of high school games at the moment. But a name that really intrigues me is si LeBron James Daep. Just because of he looks like a Chet Holmgren, Philippine type. Not as tall as Chet, but when you look at college basketball here, this is a guy that could play multiple positions, I would say. A lot of Adamson guys, I think in chat mo mentioned si Esperanza. I love watching that guy during
Mm-hmm.
the UAAP juniors games. Kiefer Alas is a very has been in the news cycle for the past few seasons. But I think he's only in grade 11. Correct me if
Yes,
I'm
yes.
wrong. So
And I
still
believe
two
he
more
might train in
seasons.
the US. He might play some AAU games.
I would I hope he does end up in the NCAA. I hope he does play in the AAU. Any one of those guys who can play abroad, I would say that's a success. Diba? Kasi
Yes.
we want players to thrive. We want players to be able to train at the best level, at the highest level. First and foremost, before being an Ateneo fan, I'm a Gilas fan. 'Di ba? I think sa hierarchy ng teams that I want to succeed, I would say that I would want Gilas to even succeed more than Ateneo.
Mm,
'Di ba? Kasi iba yung national pride eh. So,
yes.
you mentioning a lot of names and me seeing them in social media, kakaiba na yung highlights, 'di ba? Even if you watch college basketball, 'di ba? Sometimes during the off season you were asking me what I do. I watch some old games in YouTube. Some Ateneo Lasal games, some FEU UE games. Kasi yun yung top teams during the early 2000s. And you can see the talent level has grabe, yung ano, talent level has really increased by a ton. It was so basic. Basketball was so basic before then. The skills of the players were so basic, 'di ba? It was not ano, multi-possessional. I think that's what we're seeing right now in the UAAP. Players knowing how to play multiple positions, players, big men knowing how to play make, big men knowing how to shoot from the outside and still be able to defend in the paint and have post moves. It's very exciting what's happening. And actually ang prayer ko lang is hopefully we get more coverage for the
Mm-hmm.
juniors division. I'm actually happy that Pinoy Liga shows yung women's and juniors division natin. Now we can see them play. But I don't know if a lot of people tune into them. Diba? Kasi women's basketball has been crazy the past 2 or 3 seasons already. And with Caitlin Clark blowing up in the US, sana mangyari din here in the Philippines. Diba? I hope more people tune into it. I don't know if high school basketball could be big here in the Philippines. I don't think it's big anywhere in the world. But I hope that these players really get the opportunity. If the PBA, the MPBL, other leagues, Pinoy Liga, I think Pinoy Liga allows them to play kahit bata pa, kahit nasa high school pa. I think that would be beneficial to the development of all these players, di ba? Them getting to play in higher tier leagues, higher tier environments. Kasi we see players like Luka Doncic, 'di ba? Play like Ricky Rubio, played in the national team at 15, 16 years old. So
Yep.
we should see this happening also here in the Philippines if we want players to develop faster. If we want to increase the tier level of players, 'di ba? Even in the Japan B League, 'di ba? Si Yuki Kawamura I think was playing in the B League when he was in 18 years old. So yeah, happy for them, but I'm just hoping that their growth is not being stunted, not getting the opportunity to play at higher tier leagues. 'Di ba? Kasi players like Kiefer Alas should be given the chance to play
Mm-mm.
at higher tier leagues at this moment. You see that he has the talent to be able to compete.
If you could pick one high school talent to go to Ateneo from the names we mentioned or the standouts to look out for, who would be your selection?
Uh I would say si Daep just because of the size and
Of
versatility.
course. Yep. Yep.
'Di ba? Kasi we know Coach Tab wants that power forward who's very versatile. You can play make, you can shoot from the outside, defend multiple positions like Verano, like Navarro before, and then even to a certain degree si Balungay. But siyempre si Kiefer Alas. He's the gem. I think he's the number one prospect right now, even if he was still a junior right now, 'di ba? But that's still a long way. And even if I would say that if Kiefer Alas ends up playing basketball here in the Philippines, it would be a failure on the part of Philippine basketball. I want him to play abroad. Di ba? He plays hard. He plays very good in FIBA Asia, even in the FIBA World. We want to see him in a bigger stage. Di
Mm-mm.
ba? Hopefully he gets that chance. Hopefully he gets the chance that LeBron Lopez was not able to get because of the pandemic. Di ba? We want to see these players play abroad. You saw how Kobe Paras played when he came back here, di ba? We see players how they play when they come back here. It's different when you get to play in a different tier of a league.
Kobe Paras, those posters in that one season were awfully impressive. The dunks until today, just crazy. JD Pajarillo, one of our constant viewers of the podcast, thanks for tuning in again, says, a Thai friend of mine got to watch a few UAP basketball games last year. This is related to Maui's point. Ibang araw level of playing in college basketball in the Philippines, and he was actually surprised we have such kind of coverage of the games. That's a great plus one for college basketball in the Philippines. My pick for that question would be Colin Sakoe, actually, don't I ask you? 5
Yeah.
years of Colin Sakoe, if you could get that, whoo, sheesh. But I think this guy might be good enough to one day play US NCAA basketball, kind of like God's love of Ateneo. So don't sleep on that. And of course, Kiefer Alas, you can never go wrong. LeBron James died. I've been told that you have to say the James with an H. So how do we say that? LeBron James died. Is that the right way? Okay, let me know. But a lot of people will be remembering his name soon enough. Maui, thanks so much for joining, man. This was a great discussion. So happy to
Thank
have
you
you
for having
here.
me, bro.
Yeah,
Always happy to come on your show.
you're always welcome, bro. Tell us about the episodes you guys got planned for Boleros coming up.
Well, actually, it's a very slow off season, so we're trying to relax, focus on our other careers right now. Maybe we can release an episode. I'm not sure if we're gonna release this week, but maybe next week. We're trying to come up with different segments to try to entice people to watch the show right now. Maybe we can do some fantasy drafts, some rankings of top players like what you did, Navs. But let's see. We have the next Man Cup of Pinoy Liga. We have the Pinoy Liga Cup coming, I think, in April. The Phil Oil is coming up in a few months. Hopefully, we get more coverage of some basketball, some UAP basketball teams. But it's a very slow off season. It's not like before that we had breaking news from you almost every other day or three times a week. Diba? It was very crazy before, but let's see where we end up this off season. But happy to be able to come up to your show again.
By the way, did you agree with my top three college basketball players? So my number one was Escamis, number two Phillips, number three Liwag. Would that be your top three of college basketball players in the country right now?
Yeah, I would say si Chamis earns that number one slot. It's electric how he plays. I watched the NCAA usually in the playoffs. I can't believe he wasn't utilizing the UAP. Maybe similar to what happened to Robert Bolick. Sometimes it's the right situation in the right time and the right coach, diba? These players are all talented. Sometimes just really they just need a break. And Chamis is taking advantage. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play in the KBL. Hopefully in the next season.
Ooh. So Mapua matched the KBL offer, and that's why he's staying.
Oh,
Points to Mapua. Imagine that. Galing, galing. Well, Maui, always a pleasure to have you on. We'll have you on again before the UAP season starts. And by the way, those caps are always awesome. So you
yeah.
guys make sure to go get those Boleros caps and the merch that they have. Check out their Instagram for more information. See you soon, Maui. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, that was our episode with Mau Yap. If you missed it early on to start this special podcast installment, I did a ranking of my top 10 college basketball players in the country right now. So go back, check that out. I'll also be posting it on socials. No bomb right now, but things are happening behind the scenes. So I know it's been quiet, like Maui just said, but hold your horses, ladies and gentlemen. Some stuff will be coming soon enough. The Navs Effect merch update, the t-shirts will probably be available sometime later this month. Again, respect to those who ordered in advance. We'll make that available soon. We'll also be giving away copies of our special print edition of All-Star Magazine with Jen Magalanza, CJ Cancino, and Jordan Clarkson plus Austin Reeves on the different covers. Wasn't able to do a giveaway today because it was a packed episode, but we'll have more coming up in upcoming episodes. And also, we'll be releasing on Wednesday a review of the first two episodes of Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus. My friend Jason will be joining me to do a review of that episode. Shout out to Disney. They gave me access to the first two episodes of Daredevil a few weeks ago, and I don't want to spoil too much and I don't want to reveal too much until we come out with the actual episode, but just to give you a little preview, it is magical. If you thought that the Daredevil from the Netflix show lost its magic by going to Disney, you're mistaken. It is, if not as intriguing, maybe even more intriguing. So watch out for that review. We're recording that on Tuesday. It'll be out by Wednesday, and then we'll have another episode by Friday sometime there. Super excited, super stoked. Much love. Great episode. Shout out to Maui. Shout out to the Navs Effect community. Shout out to the All Star Magazine community. See y'all next time.